Bournemouth.
Can I go to the yard, officer?
Jordan, you want yard?
Yeah.
Burned me yesterday. I ain't going nowhere. I ain't going nowhere.
That's too
Yeah,
late.
he calling you? You think you calling like that? I ain't gonna have to.
Got 10 in the yard. Bring the shackles on him. Bring the shackles on him. Bring him in.
Kill you.
I'm getting ready for a visit. They strip you. Usually there's one guard, but this time there were 8. Something tells me that something isn't right. I'm thinking
Yeah, nigga, we gonna kill
they
you.
want to hurt you.
With that nigga stuff again, man.
Yeah.
I'm set to see my family, my mother and children. I want to make it to see them, for it's the only humanity I have left.
You're coming here, y'all fill my medication, y'all spitting my food.
That's right. Tell him, Tate.
What do y'all want from me? The only thing I want to do is see my
Tell him,
family.
Tate.
Okay.
See, I was young. I didn't know I was strong. I didn't know what fear is.
What?
I saw abuse all around.
What?
I felt like when you do this to someone else, it's like you're doing it to me. I learned the power of the pen. I wrote grievances. I wrote to the NAACP, Amnesty International, Reverend Jesse Jackson, Reverend Al Sharpton, the ACLU, saw that I had so many complaints. They came to see me. They sent me a compendium on law and a prisoner's self-help litigation manual. It teaches you how to do class action lawsuits. I was labeled a troublemaker.
Boy, who you think you are? You think you're a city slicker or something?
Book says you come with Mr. Jones.
Speak up for yourself. Speak up.
My birthday is one day after Dr. Martin Luther King Jr.'s. See, I consider myself strong. I wouldn't let my keepers win.
Yeah, T again. You
Yeah, speak up for yourself, T.
They mess with him again.
Y'all go home. Some of y'all got wives.
They ain't got no life.
I have nothing. Why do y'all want to make me miserable?
Shut up. We gonna kill you.
That's all you know.
Then do it.
We gonna die like
My
can do
death
it.
sentence was overturned from death to life, December the 15th, 1989. The courts found that my counsel had been incompetent. But see, all those years on death row took their toll. So much has happened to me, it was driving me crazy. That sometimes a thought or a dream would trigger a memory, and I'll wake up hollering from the shock what all I lived through. I'm like a POW with post-traumatic stress. For 6.5 years, I never touched anyone, went anywhere alone or without shackles. What it did, it taught me how to do everything by myself. When I finally went back into population, I had to learn how to be around people all over again. It took me 2 years to find myself again. But I survived. I watched my life like it was a TV show, waiting on the day for it to get better, and it did. It did. While waiting on my grievances to be filed, many of the people at the place where I was were fired or relocated. I continued to do positive things for myself and to help better other people. Eventually, I had the opportunity to come here to Chester, where I continued to study law, to speak out, and never ever will I give up hope or not pray that one day I will be free.
These feet want to walk through the streets.
These feet want to walk out the front door.
These feet has shuffled.
These feet have been shackled.
These feet were threatened with the electric chair, 25,000 volts.
These feet have walked the last mile.
These feet want to take a 2-week cruise to nowhere.
These feet hurt.
These feet don't want to walk backwards.
I did things for the wrong reasons. And, you know, now you have time to look back at it and think about all the things and where you went wrong. But that's where my main problem was. Once I got hooked on the drugs, I didn't realize I was hooked on the drugs. I did methamphetamine probably 10 years. And I just constantly, you know, it would escalate or escalate. You know, I'd be up for 2, 3, 4 days at a time, just constantly working. trying to make money, but when I look back at it, I had enough money.
1978, I was living the American dream. I had a wife, a house, cars, kid on the way, but it wasn't enough. I wanted more. More money, more drugs, more action. Something inside of me just kept on pulling me back to the streets. I was out all night working, hustling. Life was too fast, too easy, and too dangerous until that fateful night when we settled scores and 2 people ended up dead and I was arrested. Convicted of first-degree murder. Hearing the jury say guilty, my lawyer said I'd be out in 20. However, I found out in Pennsylvania, you never get out on a life sentence. Life means just that, life. Now I lay here in my cell, thinking about it every day, wondering if I'll ever get to go home.
In confession, I felt a sense of relief, stop carrying this burden inside of me. I felt good. I felt like I was going back to where I came from. Like when I grew up, you know, going to Catholic school, you're always around the nuns, you're going to church. I felt like I was going back to where I belong, because sometimes I would sit back and think about how things were, and when things were right, when I wasn't really doing anything wrong.
In jail, I learned to respect a lot of people, to appreciate the little things. At 2 a.m., wanting to get something to eat, a phone call, a letter. I never wrote when I was on the streets. Here, when you get a letter, it means so much. I learned to talk from the heart. I was real cold out there. I learned to appreciate my family. We all have a common goal, to go home. I am one of 2 white lifers here at Chester. Days can be numbered here. My actions affect 30 other guys. My responsibility is to use my words to speak for others. Sometimes you get up to the top and forget the people at the bottom. Not me. In here, guys show their weaknesses. Out there, they don't. If they show you, you have to be there for them. So I ask myself, will I go to heaven?
The biggest thing was, will I go to heaven? Well, I mean, God has forgiven me for my sins or whatever, but you still have to pay for that. Is this my time down here paying for it or whatever? I don't know. I don't know if I would make it to heaven.
Well, I was addicted just the age 18 to when I was like 29, and I was almost died twice. You know, about the consequences with the addiction that I used to have in the society. But I never want to recognize that I have a problem when I was in the society. You know, even that I had a problem, and there was a lot of good people around me that they want to give me the chance, you know, the opportunity to rehabilitate myself. But I didn't want to accept that, you know, because I was into it so deep.
Sometimes I look outside myself, and I don't see the barbed wires on the Great Wall. I see some mangoes. See the rooster in the front porch. See the papaya trees, sugar cane, cinnamon trees. I see my little sister in the backyard. I see home.
When he was in society, he had a wife and kids. Everything was fine. He was a lovable dad, the best father.
But he was a drug dealer. He ran the corners and he made a lot of money. He polluted his community. If he wasn't in prison, he'd be dead.
In the drug world, you don't know who your friends are. People who live in that lifestyle, they're not your friends. They put the finger on him. They accuse him of homicide. They testify against him.
When someone testifies against you, it's hard to prove your innocence. He's been in 17 years on a life sentence. He keeps himself strong behind these prison walls. He's like a big brother and a counselor to the young brothers here.
He'd like to see one more hour. He'd feel good to know one more hour. There are times when he feels weak and down in spirit, but sometimes he feels strong. Sometimes when we feel weak, we are strong.
He writes to Christian people from all over the United States and says prayers for them. That makes him feel good, like he's here for a reason.
I'm a happy man. Quiero que me tengas confianza para usarme en tu obra, mi Señor. Quiero que ilumines al mundo a través de mi vida con tu luz. Quiero que la gente me escuche cuando hable a ellos la verdad. Quiero que reflejes tu vida y tu inmensa más de ti. Mucho más de ti. Quiero que controle mi mente, te estaré por siempre. Más de ti, más de ti. Mucho más de ti. Quiero que controle mi mente, te estaré por siempre. Más de ti. I thank God for the opportunity to bring me into this world, for my family who provide for me all these years. I'm grateful for all the people that I met all these years. I'm thankful to still sing with joy. Más de ti, mucho más de ti. Quiero que controle mi mente, estaré por siempre. Más de ti.
The only one that they can change the day is me. Be who I am and be a happy man.
If someone was to ask me, what's the most profound thing about prison? I'd probably say it's that you get up every morning. Prison is the most inhumane place on earth. We're emasculated. We can't be who we are. We have someone my children's age telling us all day to stay to the right, to stay to the right. Yet, since being in prison, I've learned so much about myself. Love. I've always known that love can heal anything. It's the most powerful element on earth. Sometimes you can love something so much that you'll protect it with all your life. You humble yourself, but when you stand up for certain things, there are consequences. I stood up for my people. I stood up for asking questions and for being curious in school about why they taught us so much about Jesse James, Adolf Hitler, and Al Capone, who were all mass murderers, but spoke so little about the Indians or told the truth about slavery. I asked questions. I got in trouble sometimes. After high school in the 60s, I started going places and hearing people like H. Rap Brown, Abbie Hoffman, Malcolm X, Martin Luther King, Ali. There were other people who believed that there was something wrong with America and why blacks wasn't getting their share. We saw a lot of prejudice. I got involved with the Black Unity Council, and later the Black Panthers. We were just a bunch of people in our neighborhood who wanted to uplift our community. During that time, the Vietnam War broke, and there were protests, confrontations with the establishment. Things in America escalated. On August 29th, 1970, a park guard was killed in the station. 2 days later, several policemen were shot in a shootout. I was arrested and treated like public enemy number one. I was threatened every day. Guns was put to my head. I was beaten. 6 of us was convicted for assault on a park guard. I had 2 trials. I was convicted of conspiracy and given the same sentence as if I had pulled the trigger. Life. I had a co-defendant who was on the lam for 26 years. In 1997, after 27 years of incarceration, they called me down and said that if I testified against him, that they would do all they could to get me released. I grew up with certain values, and I had a certain reputation for being honest, upright, and dependable in prison. After 27 years, witnesses were dead. They wanted me to lie. They said that my co-defendant was a shooter and that they wanted me to testify that I seen him pull the trigger. Even if I would have seen it, I wouldn't have testified. Prison is a city within a city. Being a snitch is a very, very cool life in prison. I lost a lot by not testifying. I lost my freedom. I lost my family. But what I didn't lose was what I believed in: my dignity, my self-respect, and me.
I've seen seasons change, blood flows through my veins, and I remain still standing. I've seen the face of war and hate. I've heard the call of reason, seen the power of love on earth, and I believe in healing. I've seen seasons change, blood flows through my veins, and I remain still standing.
Early in my sentence, I was bitter. I couldn't see my life being cut off at such a young age, 25 years old. In 1970, I was a husband with 2 sons and a daughter, who I haven't seen since. If 2 of my children were sitting right out here with y'all this evening, I probably wouldn't even know them. But then you realize you can't stay bitter forever. You still have to grow as a person. And when you see people